I know Harry spoke about this a couple of weeks ago. I wanted just to, before we end our service, share a bit from my heart about how significant this moment is in terms of our giving, not only to the offering, but to our Christmas offering this year, which is a huge ask. I realize that, $500,000 by the end of Christmas. Now, I want to say this has been foundational from the beginning of our church, is we have always believed if we do what we can, God will do for us what we can, right? If we do what we can, God will do for us what we can. And with that in mind, who would have thunk it, as they say in Arkansas, that when I said on January 9th that this was a year we were going to floor it as a church, who could have imagined all that has happened? The cards that are back there, they outline all these great things that have happened, not only in and through the church, but through Vine and Village. But why $500,000? Because we are trying to be good stewards of a $500,000 gift that was given to us by an anonymous source. You know, most people think that stewardship is managing what you've been given. That's typically the way the American church thinks about stewardship. But stewardship is actually defined by Jesus in the parable where he said, you gave me 5, here's my 5, you're 5, and I made you 5. Here's the 2 you gave me, and I made you 2. When I'm teaching on this outside the church, sometimes I say one guy sat on his asset, right? One guy sat on his asset in fear. He did not steward it, he managed it. And he was called a wicked, lazy steward. Jesus in that parable says, take the one away from him and give it to somebody who knows what to do with it. Stewardship, whether you're talking spiritual stewardship or financial stewardship, it's always about increasing, and particularly we who are a church and Christian people, increasing the work that we can do for God. Now, why I say that is because this is a super important moment, and I feel 22 years, I was the first one here, obviously, because I started the church. This is one of those moments where God is writing a story. We are in the middle of a story here, and I'm not just saying that hyperbolically. There is a story right now being written, and I and you and we want to be a part of that. And part of that story is us stepping up and doing our best to match this gift as good stewards, because I have 99.9% certainty that if we do that, there's going to be a lot more blessing financially that comes. And I won't go into that, but it's almost like this, that in the spiritual realm, I believe there are people watching how we respond to this, and there could be tremendous blessing beyond that. That's all I want to say about that. Now, and trust me on that when I say this isn't like pressure or anything. I just feel like there's a story being written, and we need to step up. We can't let other people keep taking care of us. So if we do this, I do believe there's going to be far beyond what we can understand in terms of additional blessing financially that will come from other sources, and it'll allow us to do not only what we're trying to do now for the reasons we're doing it, but even more. But if we simply sit back in this moment, I don't think that would come true, right? So it's not quite like this, but it's almost like this. If we match it, there's going to be people that put in even more. But if we don't match it, then that's not going to happen. Now, again, I'm saying that's a feeling. That's not true. That's not exactly certain, but I've got a very good feeling that that's true. And that's why it's so important for us to surge ahead. The bathrooms, the kitchen, for the homeless, and for all the things we want to do, the soundproofing, etc. So please, please, please understand how significant it is. God's writing a story. And this church has always chased, beyond what we could otherwise see. So in other words, if we just looked at a spreadsheet, we would never be here because we've never had enough resources. But God, we've lived by this rule. Faithful is he who's called you, he will do it. If we do what we can, he'll do for us what we can. And so on your way out today, I printed just a quick synopsis of the story of how we got this building. This building was such a huge hurdle for this little church way back, but I just printed a synopsis of the faith story that happened when we were able, how we got this building. And again, we've had these stories before. Harry's coming up right now. We've lived through stories like this, and that's why I can say we're in the midst of a story now. I don't know how it's going to end up, but I just know we're in the midst of a story. And we should want to be a part of that. And the way to be a part of that is give generously and sacrificially to the Christmas offering this year. And then let's see what God does beyond what we could otherwise ask or think.